Hi, my name is Alyssa, and this is my Cognitive Linguistics on-call notebook. The first page I have here is just my statement that these activities in the on-call notebook are suitable for any individual requiring treatment, and any individual despite race, socioeconomic status, gender, or pre-injury education can engage in these activities without any cultural or gender bias, and that if any of these activities prevent an individual from completing, then we are able to modify as needed. So the first domain I have is attention, and I have the purple tabs here for my assessment. The first one I have is the trail making test. My first activity is actually marked with the green tab, which means that it's not necessarily on the go. I still like the activity, but it just may require some additional stimuli that I would have with me. The second one is called the shell game, and I flagged this one in orange, and orange is for a more severe patient. I chose this one because you're using two clear glasses and you can see the marble, so it's not necessarily hidden from them, and so I thought that would be easier for a more severe patient. This next one is a counting one, and they can actually use their finger to count those, and so I marked it with the orange tab 2 for a more severe patient. The next one is just a count by 2, count by 5, count by 10, and this one they only have to count up 3 more numbers. The next one is just telling how much money there is. The next is some more math problems. This one is simple addition. There is no number that they are adding together that is over 10. The sum may be over 10, but as far as the two numbers, they are just single digits. So I marked that with the orange one too. I also have a subtraction, a multiplication, and a division, which obviously those are increasing in complexity. The next one is just an attention task. This one is they have to pick out which thing does not belong. Next, I have some search out words, and I do have quite a few of these, so these are not very big. So this one is one of the easier ones, and then they do get larger. There's a larger one. So they just also increase in complexity. Next, I have crossword puzzles, and this one is a fairly simple one, and I have quite a few of those. As you can see, they do get larger. Then I have some seek out words, again, increasing complexity. That's a small one, and they do get bigger also. And then I have some visual scanning, so they can use their finger and scan all the way across. So this one they mark all the E's, S's, and N's. My next tab is executive functioning, and for this one I have the RIPA G. So the first thing I have here is a medical information, which is very important. They can fill this out, or they may have to have help filling this out, But once they complete this, this would be something very useful for them that they can keep with them. And, you know, if they come in contact with someone, they could pull this out and you would be able to, you know, get a hold of someone if they needed help. I have the stamping center here and I flagged it in orange. It's very cut and dry, first name, last name, address, city. The font is really big and also the lines are really big. Then I have another one that is state, zip code, phone number, and birthday. Next I have some functional math and writing. So what they are doing is they're balancing a checkbook, writing checks, and addressing envelopes. So there they're writing check. And then they'll have to fill out a checkbook register. And then there they can address envelopes. Next I have cooking a meal. So they would describe the steps on how to prepare spaghetti, a hamburger on the grill, same thing, how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, how to make a pizza, another sequencing, so this one is eating cereal. Next is a daily skills, so describe how you would do the following tasks. So do the laundry, take out the garbage, clean the refrigerator, change your mailing address, bake cookies, and stuff like that. Next is a TV schedule, so how they might use the TV schedule to help plan their evening. Then I have a calendar, so they are attempting to plan a winter party. This one I felt like was very important. Safety is always important. So what should they do if someone hurts you, you fall in your basement, the water looks brown coming out of your tap, you get a flat tire, stuff like that. This next one is a pharmacy hunt. You wouldn't necessarily obviously have to go to the pharmacy. In the daily newspaper, you may be able to get a CVS, a Walgreens paper or something like that, and you could look through it to complete this activity. The next domain I have is memory, and for this one I have the slums. The first thing I have here is recall of story material, and I should have put a green tab on this, but I would have to have a book, but that is something I could totally just carry in my bag that I always keep. The next one is recall of pictures and places. This one I marked green because it does require cards, and I have some other activities that also require cards, so I would have those in there. And I also flagged it orange for a more severe patient because it first says place 2 different cards, and if that was too hard, you could obviously just do 1 card. So show them the ace. They, you know, hopefully pick the ace from the 1 card. With the 2 cards, obviously you would have an ace and some other one, hoping that they would give you the ace. Next is just some memory task naming list, so the alphabet, numbers to 30, days of the week. The next one is a word retention. This one is yes/no questions, and I have marked it with orange because it is level easy, so it does get harder. This one is location, so obviously you cannot answer those with yes and no. History, popular media, armed forces, presidents. This next one is a memory task that you can do with a communication partner. So you just answer the questions and then try to see how much you remember from what they told you. The next one is describing pictures, recalling visual details, and this one has quite a few pages that go along with it. The next one that I have is orientation. So for it, I have the orientation log. The first activity I have here is orientation tools, and it's marked green and orange. It is marked orange because this daily schedule goes with it, and so they would put down their activities, and if they did need extra help, you could tell them what to put at each time, so that's why it is marked orange. Next, I have a weather activity, so they would have to orient the weather to that week specifically. Next is some temporal awareness, so write in the numbers in the clock hands for the time. The next one is write in the times that certain things would happen, so like what time do you eat lunch, when do you have speech therapy. The next one is just answering the following questions about time. This one is daily routines and telling time. I mean, they're not going to be going to school, but I did think this was a good activity. They may have grandchildren that go to school, so they could talk about what time their grandchildren may go to school and stuff like that. Oops. The next one is just some personal orientation questions. A calendar task, and then I provided them with a calendar. And then more clocks, so these they're actually having to look at and write down the time. And then the last one, understanding temporal landmarks. My final domain is visual spatial, and the assessment that I chose was the MOCA. So for this one, I have spatial and writing skills. So this one I did mark with green because I may just have to have a piece of paper or pen, which is also something that I'm sure that I would have in my bag, and also marked it orange. This one is also marked orange. They're just having to raise or point right or left, but they, may need some help with that, so you could raise their right arm or their left arm. Spatial centering, again, marked green because pencil, paper, something like that. Two-dimensional arrays also may need some extra stimuli. Same with drawing figures. This next one is spatial awareness. So just follow the directions involving spatial awareness. So in the upper right left box, write the letter R, and then it gets, at the bottom there are more directions that you have to follow. This next one is just a mix-up of letters and numbers, and they would have to mark out, circle, point to whichever thing you ask for. So if you ask for 5, point, circle, X out 5. Same if you ask for X or something like that. The next is a visual tracking. So whichever one of those you ask for, they would track with their finger and then track all the way across and X out or underline whichever one you ask for. Same with this one. They would have to track all the way across, and they are to put an X on the green smiley face. And those two are a little bit easier. This one is a little bit harder. You're actually having to circle the alphabet letters as they appear in order. So first you would find an A, and then you'd go all the way across until you find a B, then a C, and so on. and then it actually has them in order at the top for a reference. Next, this one could have been put into memory, but I put it into this one for visual spatial. They just copy the top pattern into the bottom boxes. And then I have some connect the dots. So this one just has 10 dots, so fairly easy. And I forgot to tab that one. But it should be orange for an easier task. And then another one here that it has 18, so a little bit more difficult. And then here in the back, I have my 5 articles. So midlife intervention that are critical in prevention. The next one, what does the general public understand about prevention and treatment of dementia? Cognitive impairment 6 months after ischemic stroke. So this one is, they are going back to the patients and trying to do some preventative measures so that they do not have a relapse or have another stroke, some prevention things they can do to keep that from happening. Severity, causes, and outcomes of traumatic brain injuries occurring at different locations. And then the last one, development of the prevention of Alzheimer's, dementia, and other late onset neurodegenerative diseases. So that is it, my on-call notebook.